Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Payload Pat, and this is my YouTube channel and my journey as a upcoming DevOps engineer, and I'm currently a solutions architect. And yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and talk about my journey and my tips and tricks in acing the CKA, the Certified Kubernetes Administrator exam. A lot of people have struggled with this exam. It's very intense, and it's not as a typical, multi ABCD type of question. You literally have to go ahead and do a performance based question. So there is no either you know it or you don't at the end of the day. But I do want to give you, as far as some tips and tricks to equip you to go ahead and ace the exam like I've done. I was able to go ahead and knock this thing out with a 99 out of 100, which is insane. I was very, excited about it. And, I just want to share, my experience with you all and being able to, have the same type of experience in preparation. So what I'm going to do here is just show you all, number one, the score that I got here, just to show you guys that I'm not lying or anything like that. So if you guys can see here, that bad boy right there, that big 99 there. So I just did it a few days ago on the 23rd of this month. So I wanted to end the year with a boom, and I think I've done that. But that's not what the video is about. The video is about getting you guys prepared and set up for taking the exam and getting the best results and the best outcomes. So the first tip I do want to give you is number one is choose a really great and reliable as far as like video course that gives you all the information that you need. So the course that I would recommend is Code Cloud's CKA exam preparation course. That's literally all you need, to be really honest. They have really good questions, really good videos that go very thorough, and they even have a beginner version in prior to taking that particular course. So I would recommend using that one if you have no experience. Just to let you know, I haven't had experience with Kubernetes very much. I started about 5 months ago, and it wasn't really like full studying because I was obviously still working and everything, and I'm still am. But don't be afraid if it's something that seems too crazy. I had to remember the first day I was doing this, I was like, I don't know how am I going to remember all this stuff. But trust me, with repetition, it's going to get easier and easier and easier, and you'll be very proud of yourself because you stuck through it. So take those, practice exams that they have on there. They have a plethora of practice questions that you can take, as well as taking advantage of the killer.sh practice lab environment, because that is as real as it gets. You have the same type of virtual machine that you'll be accessing as you would on exam day. You have to click on the terminal, click the web browser, Firefox inside the browser, so you don't have any bookmarks or anything like that. I know before that was accepted, but now that they switched over to the lab environment, those won't be it won't be effective anymore. So just keep that in mind as you take the exam. And the Killer SH is free. It comes with, you have 2 attempts with it. It's 36 hours, so you can do the exam. It gives you it gives you the 2 hours to do the practice questions, but it's 25 questions. You're not expected to pass it. It's extremely hard, almost triple times as hard as the real exam, but it gets you ramped up in all facets of Kubernetes, Docker, kubectl, everything pretty much that you would use in the real world, and it gives you the answers at the end of it. And if you want to go ahead and try it again, you can just restart the cluster. You have 36 hours to use it, and it gives you 2 attempts. So take advantage of that for sure. Like, you use that at least 2 times. I would say use them both, especially like a few days before your real exam, so you're ready to go there. And next thing, as far as the next tip I would have, is use the Kubernetes documentation. I did not know this, but when you're taking your questions, on the left hand side where the questions is listed, you'll see it's going to be a hyperlink where it says like deployments, pods, and services, for example. Depending on the question that you get, it gives you all the related documentation that you can easily click, and it will redirect you to the official website. So use that, take advantage of it. You can use the documentation in the exam, so make sure you're looking at it if you're have any skepticism or any worries or any doubts, use that and take advantage of it. So as you see here, I'm gonna have the Kubernetes documentation pulled up on my screen, and the one thing that I would say as far as aliases is don't sit down there and put up 5 or 6 aliases. You're gonna be wasting your time. It's not really helpful, to be quite honest. You're gonna be troubleshooting more things with that, in the long run. Time is of the essence, so only worry about one alias, and it's not going to be the one you think of, which is the k equals kubectl, because that one is already set up in your lab environment, so don't worry about it. So the one thing I would say is to take advantage of is this one here. So let's go ahead and scroll down to right here where it says alias kn, right? So this one actually is very useful and very helpful. This one, if you press kn space and then the namespace, it will set you into that namespace. So the test already gives you the context that you need to be in every question, and you need to make sure you do that in every single question. It doesn't even matter if it's the same or if it's not even a question that asks you about any context, whatever. Use it, update it. It's literally click of a button, paste it, click, paste. That's it. It's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of mistakes, avoided. And if you just press it, you just type in kn by itself, it will just tell you what the current namespace is set to. So it pretty much is twofold for you. And just to give you an example of how that looks, let me open up my terminal here so you can see. And let me just transition there. And as you see here, I'm going to go ahead. I set this up already. So if I do kn without any argument, it's just going to tell me what namespace I'm in. I'm in a default namespace right now. But say I do a kn cube system, for example. Now, if it's been changed. So if I just do kn now, it's now switched to the cube system namespace. So this is a great way to take advantage of making sure that you're in the right namespace, so you don't have to do create pod -n, and then you might forget that you're in the wrong namespace, so it doesn't, the answer may not be right. It won't be right, but just keep in mind, whenever you change your questions and the situation changes or the scenario changes, to make sure that you're in the right namespace as you're creating those resources. So that's that one there. So that's a really cool tip that I've learned along the way. Another tip would be to take advantage of the imperative commands. It's very important that you're not always depending on the documentation to start off creating whatever resource you're creating, because if you're trying to create a deployment, there's no reason that you're going to be going into deployments to, in the documentation, to search up deployments and creating a deployment based on a manifest file that's in there. It's not necessary. You can easily just go ahead and do something like this, where you do a kubectl, so kubectl create deployment, if I can spell deployment, right? And then the name of the deployment, there's going to name it test. And then say it says you need to create a deployment name test and use the image named Nginx, right? And you need to have 2 replicas. So I can do -- replicas equals to 2. So now, instead of me having to look in the documentation and do that, I can just create a deployment like that. Boom, and it's created. And if I do kget pods, it should show me 2 deployments up. And I'm in the namespace, so I actually need to change that. But as you see here, so do kubectl, kn default, for example. And let me do a kget pods. It may not be there. Right, so I'm going to actually create this in this deployment here in this namespace. And as you see, that's another thing. You want to make sure that you're in the right namespace at all times. So just be cautious with that as you're doing it. So as you see here, I created my pods here and their test here. So as you see that those were created easily without having any problems, right? So the next thing that you want to take advantage of is, using the dry run command. So some things may not allow you to create the full YAML file with everything you need. For example, you may need to have a multi-container pod, or you need to have, certain rules. You may need to have a liveness probe, or something simple, as a environmental variable that you need to have added in there, right? You can't do that necessarily on the command line. So this would allow you to at least get started by using the dry run command. So let's go ahead and do something like this. So let's do a kubectl create another deployment, and we're going to name this my deployment, right? dash that same image, same replicas, but I'm going to do this here. I'm going to do a dash dry dash run equals client, and then output YAML, right? And if I just press this enter, it's just going to go ahead and show me, all right, I can either copy this here from here and create a new file here and paste it in there and then make the modifications, add the environment variable and all that good stuff, and at least have something to start with very quickly, and you don't really have to think about it too much at all. And it's less error prone because you're not really doing too much. And then of course, if you want to redirect this into a file, so I can name this, I'll just name it my deployment.yaml as I named it here. Let me just paste that. So .yaml, sorry. So now if I do vi my deployment.yaml, I have everything in there. So now I can go ahead and make all my changes that I need to, and I can create, say I needed to create another container. I can do this by pressing Shift V for visual line, and then pressing down, and then I could just press Y to yank that, and then press down here, press P. Anything under this cursor is going to be pasted right under, and then I'm good to go. I can delete this with double D, so just type in D twice, DD, and then now I can have this name. Let's name this one busy, right? Busy, and then the image busy box. Okay, so now I have two containers. I have my multi-container pod there, and of course whatever changes that it needs you to make, you can do that, right? And then I can do k create -f my deployment.yaml, and that will go ahead and create this pod here. So let's do a k pods. Let's get deployments actually, and now we have my deployment pod here, and it says 0 to already. I wonder what's going on with that. Might have made a mistake here. Busy box. But as you see there, you can easily go ahead and create resources that way. And that's the best way to go ahead and do it, right? So the next thing I would say that you want to take advantage of in the exam, and I kind of wrote these down, so I want to make sure I got them all here. You want to take advantage of the kubectl explain command. So sometimes pods and resources and the questions that you may have, you may not have experienced them before. You may not have seen a particular question, and right the time, every answer matters, so a way that you can take advantage of the kubectl explain command is, you're looking at your documentation and you can't find an answer, or you can't find an example that specifies what you're looking for, right? So you can take advantage of the kubectl explain, which pretty much will give you all the possibilities that a resource can have, right? So say we're trying to get information on a pod, so kubectl explain pod, right? If I do kubectl explain pod, it gives me everything what I can go ahead and create, right? So I can have API version, kind, metadata, spec, status, right? All that's important, right? So what you can do is go a bit further. So say you want to do go further on the specs, right? So k explain pod.spec, and that will give you a rundown of everything that you can create under pod.spec, right? And it will tell you how it's like the spelling of it, or how it's written, because priority class name is written that way. So it gives you everything that you need to go ahead and at least get started, and then you can start making the modifications there. And say, hey, I don't really know everything that I need to know, but I do know, for example, that I need a toleration, right? So let's do .toleration. Right, so now it tells me everything that I need to do as far as to create a toleration. So I know it gives me possible value, so no execute, no schedule, as well as the key value, the key operator. The operator can only, it can be equal or exists. And you have access to this stuff here, right from the command line. And say you need to find something that you really don't even know where, you can even do a -- recursive and that will give you everything under. So this will give you like all the possibilities for pod.spec, every single possibility, everything that's legitimate. So you can do, secret, everything. And this is the best source of truth. So this is something that a lot of people don't talk about. I'm surprised, but use this. It's super helpful. It helped me in my exam quite a bit, because I got thrown off with something and I was able to go ahead and actually solve it because I took my time and, I went ahead and answered it, and I found it, by doing, you can even, you bind this with a grep, minus I or something like that, and you can just break it down as far as whatever you're looking for. So, and grep is like case insensitive, so I can find a particular thing. So for example, pool, right? I don't know, I just saw something that said pool there, and yeah, I can find pool there, and this will help you go ahead and as far as like break things down. But obviously it's very useful if you find out first what's next. So pod.spec whatever it is, and then you can like find out what's next in that, what is it looking for next. So this is an easy way to go ahead and take advantage of things where you may not be familiar and there's no example in the documentation. So use that to your advantage, please. That's one of the biggest helpful recommendations I can have for you. The next thing is checking your work, man. You have to check your work. After you answer your question, yeah, it looks like the command went through and it says pod was created. But for example, I think when we were just looking at this, I don't even know if that deployment is running. I don't know why it's not. Let me do and troubleshooting. You want to make sure you're able to troubleshoot. So let's do a get pods, and we're gonna do this live right now. So it says, I'm getting a crash loop back off, right? So let's go ahead and do this here. Copy, let's do a edit. I'm gonna do a edit pod, and then the name of the pod, all right? And let's see, what is the error with this here? So you got everything here: containers, nginx, resources, volume mounts. What is the problem? So let's go down and see where it went wrong. Container with unready status busy, container not ready. So the busybox image, it usually needs to have a actual command to run. So you usually do like a sleep command or something. So that's more than likely why this pod is not running at this time, because there's nothing that it's running. The purpose of a container is to run a process or anything like that, right? So that's why this pod actually isn't working. So, and that brings me to another thing here. Right, so I'm going to quit this. So like, let's go ahead and do this. So a lot of things that I struggle with, for example, was by using the imperative command to create commands that the actual container was going to run during its runtime. So what I like to do is say it says create a container that checks the logs of a particular container, right? So to do that, you can either go in the kubectl edit the pod and then just put everything in there manually for you, or use the imperative command. So I know I'm going to have to create a busybox image from what the question was saying. So instead of immediately jumping to the edit, I'm going to go ahead and do a dry run of creating a container or a pod and using the same commands that I would have to do myself. So let me just give you an example. So kubectl run busy, and I have to do a run busy and then dash image is equal to busybox, because it's going to tell you what image you're going to have to use. And then also I want to go ahead and do a dash command, right? So you put in the double dashes, is going to allow you to go and enter a command. So say I need to do a shell minus C, and then the command of sleep 1 day or something, right? This command can be it actually doing a tail of a certain file that you may have to create a volume for, and both the volumes are being shared, as far as the containers, which is going to be like an empty dir that you're going to hopefully know, because that's going to be important, because I got a question similar to that. So, right, so I got a kubectl run busybox, but now what I'm going to do here, before the actual command is run, I'm going to do a dash dry run like we mentioned before, equals client, and then minus output YAML. Let's see what we get here. So it already gave me everything I needed to add to that running container. So if I already have a pod that's created and it says you need to add a secondary container in that existing pod, all I'm doing is doing what I just did here, and I'm going from here down to name. I'm copying that and I'm pasting that inside the container. So if I do this here, copy it, and we're gonna do this in live. I literally I did not prepare for this, but let's do it. Okay, actually, I'm gonna edit deployment, and then the name of the deployment was, I think, my deployment. I'm gonna go down here, go down to images, and then I'm gonna do a O space, and then I'm gonna paste it, right? Let me press U. Actually, let me delete this one. I didn't need any of that, so let's paste that. I don't think it copied it. So let me go back here. I'm just going to save it and then come back here and copy. Let's go back and open that deployment. I don't know why it's not letting me copy that. But this should usually work. I don't know why it's literally not letting me paste this. Is it? Let me just paste it here. Yeah, it's not letting me copy and paste for some reason. But you get my drift. You copy this here, and you'll just paste it right into that deployment, and you'll be good to go from there, right? So let me do O. I don't know why it won't let me just paste it. There we go. Okay, there it goes. So yeah, you may need to go ahead and make some changes here and space it out. But for me, this worked. Like it took all of the complexity out of it, me being nervous about it. All that stuff was, all that stuff went away. Right? Boom. So now I got that. So now I can go ahead and just copy this and create that file. So I'll do another command, is kubectl replace -- force minus grace period equals 0. So no grace period, and then minus F flag for the file here. And let's do that. And it says there's an error here. YAML file parsing line 45. Let's go on line 45. So you press shift : type 45, and it tells us what line we're on. Okay. Image pull policy. I don't know what happened with that. It's not even showing my containers, the other one that I just added. But nonetheless, it's not a good way to answer the question, but let me go ahead and fix that here. We can like remove all of this stuff. Okay, let's go back. Do this again. We're gonna copy this. Oh, paste that bad boy there. think that should be good. It says deployment was edited. So okay, git deploy. Now you see here, the my deployment is showing 2 out of 2 ready, and the BusyBox is running perfectly fine now. So, and that just took a little bit of troubleshooting, but I wanted to keep that in here so you guys can see where you can make mistakes, but you can still go ahead and just theoretically think about it and make those changes as need on the fly, which is what this exam is literally all about. It's, you know, fixing things that are broken, right? The next thing is, for example, is using the kubectl help. So if you don't know something, you can do k-h and it can help you out. So if you want to do a k get something, you can do -h and it can tell you what to help you. How can you get help with this, right? So k get pods, or k get what can I get, right? And then you can go ahead and just look at what you can actually do. What can you list? Can you get pods? Get pods wide in certain formats in JSON. You can pretty much just give you an idea as far as what to expect and the layout of things. So make sure you take advantage of that. So if you're ever stuck and you don't even know where to start, kubectl -h and see where it takes you. And you know, couple that with the kubectl explain after you figure out what you are able to use. That's where you are very powerful as far as making those changes and such. So take advantage of that. And one of the other things too is when you're creating, for example, service accounts, you want to make sure that you're doing the can I. So k auth, so kubectl auth can -i, and then you can say there's a question actually on here that I was doing. So let me change. Yeah, okay, so we can see it here. Oh wait. Let me change it here. So there's this question here. So you see how it just says kubectl config use context. So you're gonna get that same instruction in every question that you get. So make sure you're in there, and it says update the permission of the service account. So let's actually go through this question right now. So update the permissions of the service account so that I can get the pods only in the default namespace. So this says they created a namespace, a service account. So let's actually make sure that it's there. So get sa, because you always want to check everything, right? All right, so there is a service account created, and then there's a cluster role called this. So k get cluster role, and then followed by the name of that cluster role, right? All right, so it's created. So let's do a k edit cluster role blue, right? And right now it says we only wanted to make it you can only get pods only in the default namespace of cluster 1. So when it says that, I automatically want to quit this here, and then when I edit the role, I just want to do -- context equals cluster 1, so I know I'm in that right context, right? And then now I go down here and it says the API groups. So I know pods, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be like that here, because it's not scoped to a certain thing here. So instead of it being deployments, I'm just going to change it to pods, right? Pods, and that should take care of that, right? So let's do a k get cluster role binding. Let's make sure that this role is tied to that service account that we just modified, right? So k get let's see here, cluster role binding. All right, so it exists, and that looks good, right? So wide. Let me put YAML just to see it. So it's created and it's tied to the cluster role there. So, and it's tied to this service account. So that looks good. So anyone else probably would just be like, okay, I'm done. I'm good to go. No, you want to take it a step further and you want to actually troubleshoot this. You want to make sure that this works. It's not even a lot of time that it takes to do this. So you want to do kubectl auth can I get pods -- as, and if you don't know what this is, you can go on the documentation here and put can -I, right? what does it mean? Can I get some examples of what I can do with this, right? So can dash I, and then I'm just going to go ahead and look. It says can I create deployments in this namespace dev? And it says yes, you can, and you can do it in prod, right? So now what we're looking for is this. We're doing this as a service account, so we have to do a little bit differently. So let's go ahead and copy this, right? And go back to the question, and then I'm going to press space and paste, right? So let's go ahead and make some changes. So it's broken down to oops, I got two as in there. So system, okay, that needs to stay. Service account, okay, that needs to stay. Dev, we're not in a dev namespace, so this is going to be the actual namespace that we're in. So we're in the default namespace, and then that's followed by the actual name of the service account that we're trying to test the access with, right? So this was probably a lot, but this is the things that you want to be able to go ahead and study for and practice for, because this is going to definitely come up in the exam. And then can I get pods as system, and then I can do dash that to even further it, context equals cluster 1, right? And it says yes. Awesome. So that means I have access to that, right? But what about if I want to get the deployments, right? I can just type in deploy if I can spell. No, I cannot. So now it's telling me that it's scoped to the right namespace, and then I can also do a dash in for namespace, and let's do kube system. I cannot get deployments in kube system. And what about the, can I get pods in a different namespace? Yes. Right? Well, that just went away. But as you see, you want to be able to make those changes in there. You see here. Oh man, didn't let me do it. But you also want to make sure that you're in the right namespace. So I believe in that one that I did, I needed to make sure that that namespace was in there too. So let me edit this row here. Okay, edit cluster row. Oh. And then there, and then I can even probably just do this. Let me see. Oh, name space and namespace default. And then let me do it quickly. K off. Can I get pods dash as system service account default, and then the name of this service account in the namespace kube system. No, right? So now I scoped it to that, right? So if I do default, did I spell it SERV? Nope, I didn't. And that's why you always want to make sure serve VICE. All right. And then what about kube system? All right, cool. This is a cluster row binding, so it's not scoped to any particular namespace, but it's scoped to the actual cluster. So if I do dash cluster equals cluster 2, right? Wait, context is equal to cluster 2. No, right? So it's only scoped down to the cluster 1, because a cluster row binding and a cluster row, you'll pretty much have full access to the entire cluster. So that's just one thing that you want to be aware of. But that's pretty much that type of question there. There's so much other things we can go ahead and go over. I do have other videos. I'm going to be going over namespaces, how to take care of that. as well as ingress, because that was a pretty challenging question. Those are probably the more challenging questions that I saw. But anything like creating the, doing the etcd backup and the restore, you want to take advantage of documentation, because it's literally telling you everything that you need to do when you're doing a backup. Like, you can go here and just do etcd backup, and it literally gives you the exact commands that you need to just literally copy and paste inside your exam here. So, for example, right here, your snapshots. So right here, so this is what you're going to be looking for. So you can just, what I like to do is I like to copy each line one by one, and then just replacing them with the CA cert and the key, as well as snapshot save. So that's what my recommendation would be. When I'm on the exam, I like to do a cat. I like to do, just I open up the etcd file, and then I pipe it with cat, pipe it with a grep -I command, and then -a flag 20, and it gives me everything under command down as far as the etcd file. I don't have an example because I don't have a, let's see here. If I do a K, if I do a VI /etc Kubernetes. Oh yeah, I'm not in a, K get nodes. Let me SSH into this node here. All right, so VI /etc Kubernetes manifest etcd YAML. I'll pipe that grep -I, and then I can do command, and then I can do -a flag is going to be after this matching, after that matching keyword. Give me all the lines after. Give me 20 lines after that word command. All right. Boom. Now I have that. So now what I'm going to do on my end, I'm doing a VI, sorry. Actually, you can just do a cat, sorry. And then boom. Now when I'm doing the etcd, I can just go here, copy that here. I think I just copied something else in the meantime, but I can paste that in there, and then I can just continue on, right? So I'll just give you an example here. Copy that, paste it, and then this is my method, so it may work differently for you all, but I just like to do this here. Trusted CA file. I'm going to copy that bad boy. Boom. Delete. Paste. Move on to the cert. --cert. Copy that here, the cert file. Paste that. Then the next thing is going to be the key file, right? So key file, go to key. Boom. Paste that. Enter. And then the last one is what? Snapshot save. Then you can just name it something, temp snapshot. The question will tell you that. Oops. And then, yeah. I don't know what the actual output file is, but yeah, you just go ahead and save it, backup file location, and then you're good. And it'll do its thing. I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah. But that's how I would do it. This question is, I don't think it's prepared, and I don't have the exact instructions, but that would just give you an example of how I would go ahead and as far as answer that question. Very easy, very straightforward. I know this was kind of a long video, like over 30 minutes, but these are like all the tips that I want to give you. And there's a lot, there's even more that I want to give, but just for your sake. Good luck on the exam. Take your time, and if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. I'm not gatekeeping. I want to make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity of passing this exam, because it can be daunting, but it's absolutely possible. If I can do it, you can do it. I know you hear that a lot, but trust me, I had literally no idea what a pod was, what the even use case of a container was, why are we using, Kubernetes, what problem does that actually solve. So all those things I had no clue, more than 6 months ago, well, less than 6 months ago. So, give yourself some grace and some time, but you have to be on yourself. Study every day if you can. Give yourself some time, as well as I'm doing study sessions every Wednesday. I try to do it, and I'll give you more details, and I'll send you like a link in the description here. So if you want to join that, you can always you check in with us. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, we'll love to see you there. Please join, and it's no cost or anything like that. We all working together on the same goal, trying to level up and have those skills, that help us financially and career wise. So that's what I'm about. My name is Payload Pat, and like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something, and feel free to let me know how I can improve on my videos as well. So see you again, and peace. Thank you.